It's time once again for Roswell Underground. I don't want to jinx anything here, but I've made it 2 whole weeks without any MIB interference. If this keeps up, I may just sneak out of here for a trip to the doctor. I mean, they've reassured me that they haven't implanted anything in my body, but I've noticed this strange lump on my side, and I'd really like to get a second opinion. It started oozing yesterday, and it kind of smells like old... Oh, sorry about that. I've got a new encounter for you, this time from Percy Snickety. Seems her life has gotten a bit more complicated since certain events have caused her to run away. He pushed those hideous glasses up his nose, the round lenses magnifying his already large eyes. The end result made me think of a drunken owl. Dr. Saunders told me to get comfortable, yet his couch was making that impossible. Its hard exterior pushed on the small of my back, and it smelled faintly of cheap cologne and old coffee. "So, Miss Gregory, you say you had a close encounter?" His pen rested on the notepad, and his voice sounded with a practiced sincerity. I had a distinct intuition that he was about to draw stickmen. "Yes." He nodded, his body language condescending. "Starting from the beginning, tell me about what happened." Certain he wasn't listening to me, I had no motivation to speak. But then I remembered I was paying $100 an hour to sit on this heinous couch. So I did tell him. I was taking a shortcut home, the same shortcut I've taken for years. It's an unpaved country road, and it runs through the woods near Chandler Lane. About halfway through, a blinding light flashed, the entire car illuminated by a greenish tint. Then there was this humming noise, as if 1,000 bees were swarming in my mind. I guess I passed out, because the next thing I remember was waking up on the ground near the side of the road. I stopped, my heart pounding away in my chest. He peeked up from his notes. "Go on. You can tell me all about it." Frankly, I didn't want to think about this part, much less talk about it. I tried to sit up, but I couldn't. I was paralyzed and unable to move at all, not even blink. The green light appeared again, only this time it was dimmed and I could see the source. It hovered above me about 5 feet from the ground. Some kind of glow-in-the-dark drone. It had instruments peeking out from its chrome, oblong exterior. I swear, that thing came straight out of a horror movie. There were scalpels, razor-bladed scissors, needles. A sharp spasm shook my spine, and I stood from the couch and started to pace the floor to calm my nerves. Then, it started to lower slowly, like it was enjoying my fear. I watched a scalpel extend out, the menacing blade inch towards my abdomen. Then I passed out again. I could tell he was trying to remain detached and cool, but those ridiculously huge eyes were bugging behind his spectacles. Then what happened? The practiced sincerity was replaced with a slight air of anticipation. I awoke later in the hospital. Apparently, a man on his way to work found me still laying by the road and brought me there. And I still don't know what that thing did to me. There are no scars or any indication of an incision. I had a CT scan and it showed nothing, and then an MRI, still clear. Though toxicology came back negative, the doctors think I was either drugged or exposed to something and had an hallucination. I refuse to believe that. It felt so real. The memory is so clear. It couldn't have just been my imagination. Right? He cleared his throat and leaned onto the edge of his seat. "Well, hallucinations can seem very real. They have a way of feeling like reality or even a memory, so I'm inclined to agree with your doctors. And I think that's a good thing for you. I know I would prefer to think I merely had a scary hallucination, rather than believe I had been operated on by a UFO. For you, which is easier to believe?" The arrogant little man thought he knew the answer I would choose, but he didn't know I always prefer a challenge. "The truth is what's easier for me to believe. And I know that a hallucination isn't the truth. He raised his eyebrows a bit. I see. He glanced at his watch. Well, your half hour is up, I'm afraid. If you could just step into the lobby, I'll be right out to make your next appointment. Annoyed, I shook my head. $50 wasted on his deaf ears and he expected me to come back? I turned on my heel before I said something I would regret and started to shut the door. But then I heard him pick up the phone receiver and, well, curiosity got the best of me. His receptionist had left for the day and there was no one to stop me from pressing my ear up to the door frame. Your suspicions were correct, he half whispered to an unknown listener. She doesn't believe it was just a hallucination. Miss Gregory is going to be more trouble than anticipated. My mouth dropped open at the clandestine conversation, and I cupped my hand in an effort to hear better. No, of course I'm not going to just let her leave. I'm not the fool you seem to take me for. Yes, I will inject her with an overdose. Don't worry, I know what to do with the body. That statement was, in my opinion, a cue to get my butt out of there. I ran to my car and just started to drive. I've been running for close to 3 days now. I'm not entirely sure where I am other than far from my home in life. I'm out of cash and I can't keep fleeing forever. But I also can't turn back. Not without knowing who I can trust. I don't even know what they did to me or why, or even who they are. So my question for you is this. Where do I go from here? Percy, wherever you are, I hope that you can hear me, and I hope that you're safe. However, my show is not an advice show. I tell stories. If you're looking for solutions to how to continue evading these faceless, nameless entities that want you dead, you probably should have written Ask Abby. That said, keep on keeping on. It sounds like what you've been doing has worked so far, so keep it up. Me and the rest of the listeners are rooting for you. And that's it for tonight's episode. I'm Mr. Gray. Y'all come back now, you hear?